It's time for Sustainable Living Made Easy with Glenn Baldwitz, the show that gives you helpful advice on how to live more independently. Now, here's your host, Janet Rose.
Well, hello and welcome to today's show. Hope this finds you very well. As we're recording this, we're coming off what was supposed to be an extremely wet weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were supposed to get all this great water for all our gardens and have the seeds germinate like they're supposed to, and nothing.
Yeah, it was just very, very disappointing. I had more with a rain shower last night than I actually had over the whole weekend. But water, it is important.
I mean, we're coming up on a little warmer season, and, you know, you look out and you go, okay, it's hadn't rained in about 6 days. I may need to do something here.
Right.
And right now is a critical time for the young plants. You know,
they've got to have, they can't handle those stressors.
Their root system is not well established, so you may have to do a little watering. And, you know, how are you going to do that? Well, a lot of people talked about rain barrels and collecting off of their gutters and which is an excellent thing to do, but you can't move them around, so now you're bucketing them around. Some of these barrels have little threaded holes in them that you can actually hook a hose to. You just need a little adapter, and that's a real good idea to do. If you don't have that, you can certainly drill a hole, and they make little gasketed water spouts that you can buy at pretty much any plumbing store. So that's an item. Mm-hmm. But if the thing is, you know, 200 feet from your house, your garden's that far away, that's an issue. But most of the time it's not. So that's one option of messing with the barrels.
One of the first things that Mother taught me about watering, especially a garden, is there is such thing as watering wrong.
Correct.
Because if you're just like throwing just a little bit of water up there even if you're doing it every day, you could be doing more harm than good to your plants.
What happens when you shallow water, which is just a light sprinkling because, you know, water's heavy? Mm-hmm. You're teaching the roots to stay close to the surface, and that's not good. You want your roots to go deep so they reach that moisture during drier times. But if you do that shallow watering or a large sprinkler that's only getting the top, and that takes a lot of water, if you want to deep water your garden, and that's how you should do it. So teaching your plants to get its water from the surface is not the best way to do that. We're talking about water barrels. They make a diverter for a gutter and on a downspout, and it just splits it off into two directions. One goes straight down and out onto the ground like it normally did, but the other one will divert it over, and it usually have a little leaf trap or sediment trap, and it'll divert it over into your barrel. And they're not too terribly expensive, but that's one way to do it, or you just run it directly into a barrel. That's how we did it when we were kids, but they do to make all this stuff, so you can check them out. They're online. There's 100 different places that you can get these things from, and there's some really cool setups for water barrels and multiple water barrels and irrigation from them and all that kind of stuff. And coming bad news, you know, that we get, we're thinking, well, we might ought to do that just to have drinking water. Well, you know, but for today, it's just water in the garden. So you can't move these barrels. So what's another option is just filling up, you know, the old water cans with the little sprinkler head, you know, like a little cartoon. Mm-hmm. You go out there and you do that. Let me say something about watering. You should water in the morning. Now, that's not going to be your favorite thing to do if you're getting ready to go to work, but
and not practical for some of us.
Right. But if
not that you couldn't stand out there at 4 a.m. and water, right. You could.
If you come home from work and you get all your other work done, you say, I'm going to go tend in the garden, and, well, I need a little water, and you sprinkle water all over the leaves. And if it didn't get a chance to dry that night, you may have set up for bacteria and fungus and bacteria to grow and all that kind of stuff overnight because you've added all this water. Well, that's not the smartest thing to do, but if that's all you can do that. But if you're going to water in the evenings, do it on the dirt and not on the plant. because the plant will pick up these funguses and bacteria overnight. As the night falls, so does the density of the air, and it comes down, and all that microbes and things that are floating, spores in the air, are going to land on your plants and going to have plenty of water to drink and take over your plants. So if you're going to water in the evenings, make sure you're watering the dirt and not on the plant itself. You want to keep that dry. So in the morning, it'll have plenty to drink because the water went soaked into the ground and the roots will pick it up. And you won't have bacteria all over your leaves.
There you go.
So watering from town water, there's chlorine in there, and there's other chemicals that they add and that kind of stuff, and it's really not the best to put on your garden because those salts build up into your garden. Now, if that's all you have, okay, that's fine. The best thing to do if you have town water is to fill a barrel up, leave the top off of it, and the chlorine will actually dissipate away. Now, some of the heavier chemicals in it, the coppers and magnesiums and that kind of stuff that's in the water filtration system from the city, county, or whatever, those are still going to be there. So it's not the best option, but if that's your only option, it'll work. So the sprinkler cans, that's a lot of trips, depending on how big your garden is.
If you're trying to get your steps in, that's great, but it might be a lot of steps.
at 8 pounds a gallon, a little watering can being 2 gallons, you're 16 pounds in each hand, and you're going to do 30 trips down a 100-foot row of corn. You go, wow, this is a lot of work. And gardens are. Make no mistake, you're not doing this to save money,
right.
to save time. No, it's not. Where you're doing this for your nutrition and keeping chemicals out of your food supply, and that's it's getting worse all the time.
Yeah.
I hate to even talk about that, but there's
a
huge
but it is
list.
True. There's more reasons to garden now than ever before, and I think that's why more people are gardening than they ever have before.
Well, I think people are waking up to the fact that our food supply is no longer safe. Holy cow! Not just abundant or cheap. It's no longer safe. I mean, if you're going to eat potatoes and strawberries and things that are on the dirty dozen list, and you start looking at the chemicals that was used just to grow it to keep it pretty for, social reasons, that's not good. So besides that, we're doing it for the nutrition, so we'll just let that go. We don't want to poke them in the eye too much. We got better things to do. Sprinklers. Some people use a sprinkler in their hose and just spray the whole garden. Well, congratulations, you're spraying the weeds too, and you're watering them too.
And they're really happy.
And they like it too. So directing the water and just saving your water it is a much smarter way. If that's the only way you have to do it, and I keep beating up on all these subjects, but if that's all you have to do it, by all means. But there are better ways if you have the ability to do it, and the time and the money and blah, blah, blah. It uses a lot of water when you're doing it that way because you're sprinkling in between the rows as well as the row itself. So you're using up almost 3 times the amount of water than you actually need. You're taxing your well and your water table in your surrounding areas. Now you go, okay, big deal. The water's abundant and blah, blah, blah. 70% of the world is water. And you go, okay, but it's not all usable water. And this is your water and your well and your electricity. Do you really want to do that? All right, we'll move it on. This is what I prefer you to do, and that's drip irrigation. Drip irrigation puts water into each row using a drip tape or a dripper nozzle with a main hose, and it just comes out very slowly, 1 drip at a time, just as it's stating, and it stays right there at the plant, and you can direct it directly to the plant. Now, this is going to save you about 80% of your water usage. That's a lot. I mean, if it was 5%, I'd say, it's not worth the money. But in this case, you can water from 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock and still only use 10% of the water that you would have used for a sprinkler. Now, how's it doing that? Well, you can put a timer on it, so you can start watering while you're getting ready for work. The timer's going to kick on and do it itself, automatic. Anything that we can do to save time in the garden is a good thing. Now, some of these timers are electronic, programmable, and they're very simple, battery operated. They last a long time. I've got one I think I've been using now for about 4 years, so it's good. You can program it for a rain delay. It senses the rain. It gets a little droplets inside the little sensor, and it stops it. And you got manual settings on it. If you want to give it an extra shot one Saturday morning, there you are. You can do that. Then you have the simplest of timer, which is a twist dial timer. You twist it, set it to a 90-minute run, and it'll drip irrigate for 90 minutes and turn itself off. They're like $20.
Okay.
They're not as dependable. You're probably only going to get about a year, maybe 2 out of them. But they can control a lot of your drip lines. If you go onto the site called rainflow.com, now they are a supplier of irrigation stuff all the way up to major farm irrigation. But they're really focusing on the farmer, the household farmer. So you can buy these kits that has everything you need to do a like 50 by 100 foot garden. The main line coming in, which is just a hose connection, has a little filter system. The regulator, so you don't blow the ends off your irrigation because your pump is pumping up 60 pounds. You can't use that. It has to have a regulator. But the whole system is fairly cheap. Then they have the drip tape where you just lay it out and put a few these long landscape staples into your drip tape to hold it in place, and that thing will work fabulous, and they do a really good job. You can use with an inline feeder with that system, and it looks like the can for a garden sprayer without the little pump. And they have a metered inlet and outlet valve on it. You just hook it into the system, put your fertilizer in there. Of course, it'll be liquid fertilizer or a granulated type that will mix as water flows. Now, how that works, a small amount of water goes into the container and a small amount comes out. So it's a metered amount of fertilizer. Now, you should be fertilizing about, every other week with a small amount, dilute, so you're steadily feeding. You don't want to dump a bunch of really potent fertilizer in. This thing does a really good job. You can actually buy the nutrient fertilizers, all natural, or you can buy the chemical type, if that's, Miracle Grow type, if that's what you want to do. But it'll feed your plants throughout, say, the bloom season. And then you could change that fertilizer for the fruit production season. Now, if you want to get all technical with it, and read about all this stuff, it's an option. Or you just use a little bit of simple 10-10-10 type of liquid fertilizer, and it'll do a great job for you. Me personally, I like the chicken tea, compost tea. We run that through. The chicken tea will have to be filtered because it's got hay and organic matter in it, so you really got to filter it. But when you get done, you get this black gold liquid stuff, and you put it in your little inline fertilizer, and that does a really good job. These are all time-saving kind of things that we just don't have enough time in a day to do all the things we need. So these do work.
Well, let's hold that thought and let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue talking about watering, the importance of it, how to do it right, what difference it's going to make with your garden this year. We'll be back with more Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz here.
Dock Rock Smith Mountain Lake loves having you as a friend. With that in mind, keep our number handy, 434-248-0704. If you have an event or story in the lake region you think we should share, text it to us. See an accident or a slowdown listeners need to know about? Send that to us too. We are here for you. 434-248-0704. That's the number for Dock Rock Smith Mountain Lake, your feel-good station.
Want to play Dock Rock SML on Alexa?
You gotta be kidding me, right?
It's easy to do. Begin by saying, Alexa, enable skill. Alexa will prompt you to specify which skill you want to enable, and then you'll say, Enable Live 365 skill. Once you've successfully enabled the skill, you're ready to play. Ask for Dock Rock SML. Now, every time you say, Alexa, play Live 365, you'll be good to go with Dock Rock Smith Mountain Lake.
Here we go! Dance all day long.
Sustainable living made easy with Glenn Ballblitz. Now, here's your host, Janet Rose.
Well, hello and welcome back. We're glad you're here with us. We're talking water. Of course, we're always talking water. You know, it seems like water, food, shelter. It's important.
Pretty critical stuff here, folks.
And we're at a time now, whether you're growing flowers or vegetables or whatever it is you're growing, even your lawn, water matters right now.
Right. We had a real warm spring, early spring.
Yeah, we did.
And that's not the best thing, but, you know, we did use up some water in our garden already, you know, just keeping it going. You're going, boy, I hope it rains soon.
Right.
And then we got promised all this rain and nothing.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing, but water is important for a number of reasons, but it's important to be good stewards of your water as well. You don't want to, if you're watering wrong, it's just a waste.
It is a waste of a natural resource. There's a lot of places that their water is actually contaminated and the town can't drink it. I mean, we've all seen the news. So if you do have a well, and you should probably take care of that well. And as a matter of fact, I just had to change the pump in my well. That was an adventure. A, I couldn't get a well guy out there. B, the cost of those pumps now are horrendous.
Wow.
And if you've ever pulled a well pump, it is not easy. Thank God for my good friend Bob, and he come out and helped me and hooked me up, but I got a feeling I owe him.
Well, you may owe him, but you know, Pont, there's probably worse people you could owe. Yeah, you think
it's a simple thing to come over and say, sure, I'll help you, but it's really not. I mean, the man took some serious time on the weekend and did that for me. Yeah, and he got credit with me right now, so there you are. Right. So I'll be going over to his place.
Anytime he's ready to call it in.
I just call it in. Here you go. All right, we talked about water barrels, watering cans just by hand, sprinklers, drip irrigation, but none of those really apply to people that have real small gardens, whether it's just outside the door, whether it's an herb garden. What are the solutions for that? I mean, you could do it with a watering can. If you need to do it in the morning because you're working all the time, you can do these little micro irrigation things. Now, this Rainflow company, and I don't get any money from these people, by the way. Rainflow has these little dripper tapes, and you could do it for a small raised bed or several small. And you'll have a miniature rain barrel, which is a bucket, for goodness sakes. And you just poke a few holes in it with this little tool that they give you, put these little drip tapes in, and at the end of that drip tape is a metered valve, and it'll just drip at a certain gallons per hour. Now, it's like 0.25, so there'd be a quart per hour. So it's not using a whole lot of water, but it's allowing the plant to uptake that water while you're doing it. It's very simple. You just fill the bucket up in the morning or evening. When you go buy it, open the valve up, and it'll water all day long while you're at work doing your thing, making your money so you can pay your bills. So that's an option, this micro irrigation. And if you go on that, anything that you need to do what I've just talked about is in there. And everything is done by gallons per minute or gallons per hour. So if you have something that uses a lot of water, like watermelon vines, they tend to pull a lot of water.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Cantaloupes,
It's right there
that
in
kind
the
of thing,
name.
that are growing very large vines, they need quite a bit of water. Corn, when it first takes off, doesn't use a whole lot. By the time it's about 2 feet high, huge wide leaves, it's really using the water. So you need to make sure that you have the water available to it, or you won't get much back from your harvest. Everything that plant needs is kind of dependent on you to provide.
Right.
So let's do that. And then we're going to talk about weeds. Get them while they're small, folks. It's hard to weed something once it's taken that deep taproot in, and weeds are wild, and they already have figured it out. And the first thing they do is drill a hole in the ground, hold on for dear life, because they know I'm coming for it.
Right.
So I try to get them as soon as they pop. I have a stirrup type hoe. Now, the old people had just a little flat bladed hoe that they just cut them off.
Yeah.
Well, there's one that actually has rather than a blade, single blade, it looks like a stirrup on a saddle. And it's sharp on both sides. Now, the trick to that thing is to keeping it sharp. So as you drag forward, it'll cut in that direction. As you push forward, it'll cut in that direction. So you can go online and find them. That is a great tool to have. And
Right.
you can do a lot of weeding very fast. I suggest you get one of these. And if you don't, get a hoe and actually sharpen it. So it'll cut the weeds right off at the ground, and they actually bleed out because they've used up all their energy just germinating. Packing compost around your plants. If you have a compost pile or you bought compost, now's a good time to pack that around your row of plants, your row of beans, your row of corn. Just a simple 1-inch layer over the whole thing and packing it down. A, it'll hold moisture. B, it'll keep the weeds from coming up through because it's going to smother them. And it's going to add nutrients to the soil. And you're going to put compost in your soil anyway. It's good for your soil. You should continue to do it. It's full of organic matter. That's what you should do. And it's not that expensive. There's several places that carry mulch to sell. They're now carrying this compost, and it's really good compost. There's one out on 29, does a real good job. Real fine. I mean, it's beautiful stuff. And it's very good for your soil. So invest.
Yeah.
If you have poor soil to start with, you should be piling on the compost, whether you're making it yourself or buying a small truckload at a time. Keep it in there. It'll return its investment. You can also put straw down. Just make sure there's not a lot of seed heads in there. Some of the farmers, their combine may not be as good, and you'll see all these wheat or seed or rye heads. If they come up, it's not a big deal, but try to get a good, clean straw. Now, straw has gotten really expensive.
Yeah.
So if you can find older straw that has not was sold, maybe it's 2 to 3 years old, and if it looks grayish because it's 5 years old, who cares?
Right.
It's going to turn to mulch anyway. So you would put that down in between your rows, and that'll keep suppressing the weeds for you. A lot of people use leaf litter, composted
Yeah.
leaf litter, which is very light, adds texture to your soil, holds moisture, all that good stuff. So if you have leaves, even if you got to go out in the woods and drag them up on a tarp, you can actually put raw leaves on your garden. You just don't want to turn them in at the end of the year. You just want to use them as a mulch to keep the weeds down. Just put them right between the rows. As you walk on them, you'll smash them flat and suppress the weeds. But at the end of the year, you need to rake them out of there to the end of your garden, pile them up, and throw them on the compost pile.
Yep.
Because you don't want to turn that raw leaves into your soil, because it'll tie up all the nitrogen. But you can use it. So that's a good, that's a time saver for you of not having to weed your garden. Good. Nobody likes to do that part. Me for sure. All right, so you could take it to the extreme and actually say, okay, I'm going to do 2 rows this year of the Back to Eden method, and that is setting up a permanently mulched garden area, whether it's 1 row, 2 rows of the whole garden, where you're using raw materials, uncomposted materials like leaves or wood chips, but you can't turn that stuff into the soil. So when you go to plant next year, you just open the wood chips up, plant in there, add your little bit of good compost to it, and year after year, you're adding these chips to it, just to the top. You're never turning them in. In about 3 years, you will have 3 separate layers of those wood chips. One is totally rotted, which will be a black compost. The midsection, which is the microbial layer where everything's happening, they're all eaten, and then a raw layer on top. That raw layer on top, as seeds blow in, or from your neighbor or dandelions, when they hit that raw chips, there's nothing there for them. They may sprout, but they won't live. They'll die immediately because there's no nutrients there. And that's the whole idea of the Back to Eden. Read about it. Do a little research on it. Maybe the thing to do. It's a time saver.
Mm-hmm.
Bugs.
Bugs, slugs, moles. Let's talk about all of them.
Yeah, all the mean guys for a garden. But not all bugs are bad, you know.
I know.
There's like 7,000 species of thrips. That's the little striped bugs that, you know, you bump something and 10 million of them go flying off and you go, oh God, I got an infestation. Well, they may be. Some of those are good bugs. Some thrips feed on the aphids and that kind of stuff. So I'm not a big fan of mass execution of bugs with sprays and that kind of stuff. I have used Sevin Dust in the past for some of the...
It has to be pretty bad, though, before you go there.
If something's out of control and came in, it's probably because I didn't do some preventive stuff. And most of the time when you have an infestation of bugs, it's because the plants are weak. They're probably not heirloom, and the bugs know it.
But now, some plants are just more prone to bugs than others.
Absolutely, they are.
Like I don't raise potatoes. I've got a friend that raises potatoes, but potatoes can be a pain.
Okay, well, actually, the potato bug is coming in right now.
Yeah.
This is when
They're emerging.
You first see the adults. Now, they got to find each other because there's going to be a male and a female, and then they have to lay the eggs, and then the infestation starts.
Right.
This is what we do. Now, I've got, I think there's 6 rows of potatoes. A quick walk through every evening, and they'll be on top, and you just grab him and smash him.
Yeah.
It's not the most pleasant thing.
Or you can make a Pringles maraca.
Right.
That has also happened on occasion.
A little jar. The thing about the little striped potato bugs is as soon as you touch them or go near them, they pull their feet in, they roll off like a pill and disappear into the dirt.
Yeah.
So, you know, reach out and grab him before he does that and quit being squeamish and just squash him or
Put some gloves on, girls.
or just get ready with a little Pringles can or a jar and just roll him in there. You know where he's going to go, so
Right.
you just roll him in there. But you got to do that every day.
That's my method with stink bugs as well.
Yeah, that's I'm not going to smash a stink bug.
No, but Pringles pinata
But,
works, or
yeah.
maraca works great.
Nothing makes my wife madder than
That if you
anything.
mash one.
Oh yeah, the dog will mash one in the house, and it fights.
I've
on.
had them get in. I've had them work their way into a candle. I had a candle one time, and I was like, "That smells horrible." And that stink bug had gotten into the candle. Talk about a fly in the ointment.
Yeah, I don't believe they're going to add that scented candle to the Yankee Candle.
Not anytime soon. No. So yeah, but going ahead. Obviously, you're not spraying anything, so that's going to be the best way to get rid of them if you can.
Last year we didn't spray at all.
Okay.
And we just made up our mind we were going to go through every evening,
Be
do a
diligent.
walkabout, and just walk the row. And they're pretty easy to spot once you start looking for them. You know, you do it, several days in a row, and then you get the hang of it, and you can spot him pretty quick. Now, did it keep out 100%? No, but We did not have to spray whatsoever.
And that's huge. Yeah.
So we made it through the whole season, and we probably did kill several hundred of these things
Yeah.
by hand, but it wasn't like it was some laborious thing, just a slow walk in the evenings and squashes.
Yeah,
Bug.
that's right. That's right. But now, when it comes to being attacked, the healthier your plant, the least likely it's going to get attacked. Yeah.
Correct. Even the bugs know when their immune system is really good, and I'm talking about the plant. They'll just move on to a weaker one,
Right.
Even if it's your neighbor's.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're not going to get a bug bite. Doesn't mean you're not going to get a visitation. But they'll move on if that plant happens to have everything it needs as an immune system. Now, you might get some pinholes in things. As long as you're not getting these infestations, you should be okay. They'll survive it. But making sure your soil is healthy
Yeah.
is the key here. Living soil. If that soil is healthy, your plants will be healthy. If the plants are healthy, you'll be healthy. And
Right.
It seems like there's a little circle going on right there. There's another way to combat, especially any of the little flying bugs, the small ones, the leaf miners, that kind of stuff. And that's these sticky cards. You ever see them?
Oh, well, I've seen them with mice. Is it the same premise?
It's the same darn thing.
Okay.
But the thing about most bugs see in ultraviolets and things, and the color yellow will attract them because that's the center of a flower.
Oh, okay.
So they have it's called a Ketchum. Have you ever heard that? The Ketchum company makes these yellow cards. You peel the front sticker off and you hang it in a tree, because you can use these for fruit trees also, or you can put it on a little stake in your garden. The bug will see that as an invitation, and he comes over, hits the little card, and it's all sticky, and he sticks right to it. Now, don't get your hands on it because you can't hardly
Right.
get that
Get it
stuff.
off.
Or you can make your own. Now they make the glue itself, this Ketchum glue. It is some super duper stuff, You just smear it on a yellow card and tack it to a small stake in your garden at or above the plant height.
Okay.
So they can see that from a long way off. They come flying in like Bug's Life and hit the sticky cards, and there they are. Don't go into the light, or this one is don't go into the sticky card. But
Right.
they can't help it. I can't help it.
It's just so great. I love it so much.
So if you can eliminate a lot of the early bugs, they don't have a chance to mate
Yeah.
and turn into 10 million bugs. And that's the idea here. So healthy garden, set up some defenses, and a really good thing is birds. The little blue birds.
I saw them all around I've got a gated garden, and they were just lined up around the outside, and I was like, y'all just come on in.
Whenever we do any rototilling or messing around out in the garden, the birds do that. They line up and they watch the soil. They're watching for bugs to take off and run, and they'll fly down around with 3 feet from you
Yeah.
and pick them up. But they've gotten used to us. The little tree swallows with the white chest, little acrobats, little like F-15 Tomcats come in, and
Yeah.
they just take out anything that flies. They're
gonna
just
get 'em.
skim the ground. It is amazing to watch.
Now, they are
But
definitely
that-
your helper.
Yeah, I mean, they're eating 10,000 mosquitoes in one day.
Yeah.
That's one bird, 10,000 mosquitoes. And if you're smacking mosquitoes at night, you might want to start building birdhouses.
Yeah, really. Oh, they seem to be making themselves at home pretty much all over the place right now, because 'tis spring after all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Compost tea, we talked a little bit about that. And the compost tea should be done on a regular basis. It's
How
kind of like,
often?
you could do that once a week. I mean,
Okay.
just pick a row and say, okay, I'm going to do this row this week and this row that week. But continually putting that stuff in, and what you're doing is adding microbes to the soil. And their soil is pretty low on microbes because, A, it was never a microbial soil to start
Right.
with. Hard red clay, just not going to hold that kind of stuff. So continuing adding that, and that the microbes tend to balance your soil as far as pH and nutrients on their own. I mean, God designed it. He just
Right.
needs you to just do the right thing out there and put out there what's needed. So research the compost tea. It's very easy to make. A little fish pump and a little bit of brown sugar, and you're off and running. So there's no excuse to not make compost tea. And it does a big job, especially on the root systems for any plant, tree, you name it. Because the woods is doing all this on its own. You're just speeding things up because your garden's probably never been a microbial world. So it's been a little pasture, a little yard, so you may have to give it a little jump start.
All right.
And that's
Good
our-
stuff, sir.
That was our little show for today.
So before we let you go, do you have anything coming up soon that we need to know about?
Yes, we do. May 19th at the Lindan Ruatan Center, 2360 English Tavern Road. It's the Lindan Ruatan Center, and we'll be giving some classes from 1 to 5. We'll be
Okay.
talking about fuel storage, diesel, gasoline, kerosene, all those kind of things, how to do it,
Okay.
and do it in an easy way. Water filtration, that's pretty good, whether you're filtering it for your garden use or filtering it for your use or your cat, dog, whatever.
All right.
But you need to clean your water, clean water.
Did they need to sign up for these ahead of time?
Yes, it would be nice. Just get on there and look us up and say, yes, I'd like to attend, so we know how many's going to be there.
So is that
we're going to do it anyway.
Built up a Facebook event? Is that where they do it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So, and we don't charge anymore. Things are getting tight enough that we need to give back everything we can to the people that need the help, and we all need the help. And times are tight, so we no longer charge for any of these classes.
Okay.
And the last and final class would be EMP and how to protect your electronics, your car. It's not a perfect thing, but at least you'll understand it.
All right.
And that's our classes.
So do go online. If you're on Facebook, if you're not on Facebook for any other reason, it's worth getting on just for that. You don't have to go get into all that other
Right.
nonsense. But look up Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz and then join us. And you can we've got links to some of the old shows. It's definitely worth doing. Glenn, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Sustainable Living Made Easy with Glenn Boblitz, the show that gives you helpful advice on how to live more independently. If you have a question for Glenn, you can text it 434-248-0704, or you can join our group on Facebook by searching for Sustainable Living Made Easy.